Find it. Oh yeah, I'm so organized I have it in a whole separate folder. Okay, so this was, y'all veterans have heard this before, but Servants team and I feel like this is such a good reminder that I am going to read it again. And this was given to me by our area director before, Heather. And part of what the area director does, besides pray for, be my own personal shepherd and prayer warrior. I mean, yeah, okay, it does. She does a whole lot that, again, is behind the scenes, and it's that part of that whole level of CBS, so a whole lot goes on, and she's in direct contact with her shepherd, our zone director, and sometimes things have to be taken up the chain of command, like tomorrow we'll talk about for children, special permission for the children's teachers to watch the video, but CBS takes the 5 essentials seriously, and all the different parts of CBS seriously, and that's, I think, really why CBS has grown. So our former director sent me this letter that was a letter put together by national directors, and now Heather, she knows this and gets to keep me accountable and us accountable to be continuing to do CBS with excellence and with all the parts we're supposed to do it. So I'm going to read parts of this letter, but just know this comes from the big wigs up in CBS who visited a bunch of different classes, and the question was, what makes a CBS class grow? And that's a great question that a lot of teaching directors, servants team, wanted to know from that, what makes our class grow? Why do people come back? Why don't sometimes people come back? And this director wrote a story, and it's a great reminder of the story of Harry Hines, the ketchup guy, ketchup, right? And how he began a company at age 17. Can y'all hear me? Is it still? Okay. At age 17, and over time, how, successful it became and why it became so successful. And his motto was to do a common thing uncommonly well. That's what brings success. I'm going to say that again, to do a common thing uncommonly well. So CBS is pretty simple, but there have been classes that want to add and frou-frou and more, but that does not help a class. And in the same way, forgetting to do a part, the prayer or leadership development, that also has shown to not help us, a class will decline if you're not doing all the parts of CBS. So those who experience growth in their class changed lives, there's excitement, enthusiasm among the members, and I love that this says it's not that any of us are more gifted or more talented than anyone else, but they simply do CBS well, and they do it well each week, and they try to get better at what they do. So it's that excellence and keeping the main things, and so we want to be, Servants team this summer talked about, we don't want to be about the superficial and the fluff. We want to be substantive. We want to keep the main things, and the 5 essentials, and all the character qualities and core values you can tell. That is what sets CBS apart. So they focused on the top 5 things that make a class grow. And I will say, in that year, the area director said, y'all are doing all these things and your class is growing. And I think our class has been growing every year since then. And like I said, Heather, she is over that and helps, our team keep all of this going. And, so there's accountability on every level, prayer on every level, and help on every level. It's like, Heather, help. But the top 5 things is that simply making sure we do all the elements of CBS and follow the schedule the manual gives us. Like some classes just haven't had it all written down. We do that. We have a binder for y'all. We have it all written down, and you can tell, and we'll be able to tell. It can be hard to keep to the schedule. Thursdays can move fast, but we have tried to organize it in such a way that there's time, and CBS gives you the range of time allotment for every part of CBS, and we're sticking to that. So none of what Servants team do, we haven't reinvented any wheel. We are doing the CBS things. And it talks about, that if you arbitrarily add or subtract the elements, it's a slippery slope and it doesn't work. They said they visited a number of classes, and one class wondered out loud why their members were declining, and at the same time, they realized, the national director said, well, y'all were choosing not to have prayer time, or they found, they decided leadership development was optional. Well, it's not. CBS is very clear about that. And what they found makes a class successful is doing every element in it. And that's part of, what makes a clear statement on our pursuit of excellence is that everyone's on the same page, pursuing the same goals, which accomplishes the big mission of lives transformed, of making disciples. The second thing, and this is really more for core leaders, so I'm not going to stress it too much, but modeling and refraining from teaching or adding on. As core leaders, you're just facilitating, and Chris and Di will go over that tomorrow, but they have found that the people who have been teachers, like actually taught in classrooms, that sometimes they find those are not the best core leaders. And part of the reason is, just so you'll know, because it's always good for everyone to know the whys, is that they find when a teacher is always adding on, like you comment and, oh, that's a nice comment, but let me give you the more and the rest of the story. A core leader that adds too much, and it doesn't mean you can't ever add your insight or wisdom, it doesn't mean that at all, but the ones that continually add, they find that it stifles the class. You're not letting the Holy Spirit work in each person and letting the class kind of blossom on its own. So for a core leader to talk too much is really not ideal. You're not the sage on the stage, you're the guide on the side. And so anyway, core leaders, y'all will learn more about that tomorrow, but just know that that's kind of one of the main things that keeps a class growing, because we really want our class, our core members, to feel like they are participating, that they know what they're talking about, and you are their encouragers, and definitely you can add some insight and wisdom, but just, you keep that low. All right, so having leadership development is really important. There's some cool video testimonies on Fisher about how CBS has helped them in their profession, because we try to not only develop you spiritually and help, do things that grow you spiritually, and again, we learn from one another, but there's also just how are you a leader? How are you, as the core leader and the children's teachers, sometimes you're like, you got to get your sheep out of the classroom, you got to get them down to the teaching time. I mean, there are things that take leadership skills. So we try to help you in the shepherding and the communicating, all the things that are leadership skills. We're also trying to grow you in those. And I think that's what keeps leaders kind of interested and challenged and growing. And Chris and Di, and all of us, but Chris and Di are very intentional, and Servants Team, we talk through all of these, are very intentional about the leadership development that we'll do. Some of them, like I said, will be spiritual, and some of them will be more about developing skills or some practical matters. And I love this. It says, team members, and that's, your Servants Team, we want to be passionate, purposeful, and personal. And I know we strive to do that, and I know Chris and Di and my Servants Team is amazing. So leadership development is a non-negotiable with CBS. All right, the Servants Team is supposed to meet regularly, pray, plan, and prepare, not repair, sometimes repair. Sometimes we have to repair something, but prepare. And you can just know and trust that we get together monthly, we do pray, and we prepare, and we plan your year and our Thursdays so that things can go more smoothly for y'all. So again, a lot happens behind the scenes, but that's also a non-negotiable. Your Servants Team, has to be bonded, working together, planning all the different parts that make CBS. And my team is amazing. All right, then the last thing is keeping in mind the lowest common denominator. And I kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm going to read just a couple sentences. The truth is that nearly every policy and guideline of CBS is geared to the person who is the least familiar or the least interested and the least mature in the Word. So we kind of have to remember that, and I try to remind myself that 22 years ago, when I walked into CBS, I had never opened a Bible except for, the person that shared, when I accepted Christ. And we want those people coming. We want new believers, and we have prayed on Servants Team for new believers to come. But even, I've had women tell me, especially when I was core leader, that I've been in church all my life, but I don't really know how to study the Bible, or I didn't know this. So there's women at different levels. You know, there's some really wise women, and then there's some women that may feel intimidated, and that's another reason, you know, we don't want to overshare, even as the core leader. We never want someone to feel like, you know, they can't ask questions, or you know, that their answers aren't valuable. And sometimes from a new believer who's encouraged, and we're seeing things, you know, through their eyes. So just remember that we need to keep in mind, not everyone is a biblical scholar, and we're not supposed to be. We're all at different parts in our walk. And then it goes into, you know, Jesus often spoke of the least of these, and that's our goal as well. And if we minister to the needs of the least of these, we'll be ministering to everyone. And not just those who, you know, love Bible study the most or have studied the Bible all their lives. And then it goes on to say, and this is just another reminder that I touched on, we love to talk with those who we know best, those who like Bible study the most, those who are our good friends, who we've known for years, and we want to go catch up with them, and that's normal, and that's fine, but we want to be so mindful of the women that haven't been here that long, that are from out of town, or that are new, or that haven't really studied the Bible very much. So it needs to be the opposite of, you know, the person you know the best, is that we want to focus on those that we can get to know, that we can be an example and an influence on them. We need to just be discerning about those who might be unfamiliar or might be feeling uncomfortable, you know, for whatever reason, whether it's they haven't studied the Bible and they don't think they have much knowledge, or whether it's just they're new and don't know any of the people. And this, you know, is also true for the children and the children's teachers. You know, you're welcoming these new kids who might be scared to come. And so it says the first person you take out to coffee as a core leader, or maybe if children's teachers, if you take out a mama, is the new person. So just, CBS wants us to be very mindful of the newest member, those, you know, that may not be comfortable yet. We want to see everything through their eyes, and the whole goal is that we as leaders want to make them feel, everyone that comes here, whether they're new or old, we want to make them feel comfortable, confident, and cared for. So that really is the goal. So I just thought those are worth repeating, you know, and the whys of why CBS does those things, and that those are the things that make a class grow and that make everyone feel comfortable, cared for, and confident, you know, growing in God's Word. All right. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, and thank you, Heather, that you help keep all of that going, and all of you, you know, that's part of what training is about, to help you know what your role is, what CBS is all about, and to keep all the whys, you know, give you all these things at the beginning before you launch into the year, because we've all done the Bible study, you've all been a member before or a leader before, so we kind of know, but we want to keep the big reasons and give you the whys and, you know, the ultimate, the vision of CBS and why we do the things that we do. All right, so really we're just now gonna, this is our wrap up, and new leaders